Kia ora koutou, everyone. Welcome to our ordinary meeting of Carterton District Council, 1st of April. Luckily, we're past midday, so there won't be any jokes around the table, I hope. We'll open with a karakia timatanga. Outstanding. Mai ki tae moana, mai ki tae, mai te awa tina, waka ki te hauraki, tēnei te hapuri, ai te tāne, whānau whānau, ai te honi, rie tae here. Apologies, I think we're all here. Conflicts of interest? Any conflicts of interest? No, very good. Public forum. We have Jason, if you'd like to come to the table. Public forum. Representing the Carterton Indoor Swimming Pool.
Yes, back again for another update. So I'll highlight just two things from the report that you've hopefully received, that one pager, funding and design. So I need to mention, I omitted to include in my report acknowledging the money that council has already given as a grant for design work. So that makes a huge difference. And that'll be used in the next step of design. And it didn't come through, I think, in what I'd written. I was making a point about funding, but that's really about construction. So I did want to highlight that we're talking about a 25-metre pool, which is quite a league of its own compared to what you get with a normal school pool. Let's say a 15-metre pool that's only, 6 metres wide and about 1 metre deep. We haven't come across, so I've looked at quite a few pools. We haven't come across any pools in New Zealand that are 25 metres long that have been rebuilt or built from new without council funding for construction. And there may be examples, well, we know of some 25-metre swim schools in big cities such as Christchurch, which are commercial concerns, and they do turn a profit. And there will be some private schools that are able to fund that. But outside of that, in the part of the sector that we are trying to meet the need, we're not aware of that precedent of a 25-metre pool that's being rebuilt without some sort of funding from council. So we are aware of that. It's a bit bleak, especially with these economic times. I did mention an example, the Motueka Community Pool, which is maybe a year away from finishing design, the Pahiatua Pool, which will be a new build soon. We've looked at a number of Wellington pools. Wellington East Girls College is a very similar pool, but that benefited from the Wellington City Council fund at the time, which was to give pools a boost or a rebuild. And there are about 3 or 4 other school pools in Wellington. What I guess I'm getting to is the reference I made to the long-term plan, which has been on our mind as a group, as to how that might be an opportunity, be a way to secure the facility into the future. So that explains the comment in my update. The more interesting, easier bit to talk about is design. So I thought I'd just recap on how we've got to this stage. So in the feasibility stage, we were presented with a lightweight structure, which was a very modern plastic insulated and aluminium tent, if you like, which unfortunately was too tall for what we needed to do, especially because of needing a firewall, but also it would have raised resource consent issues and needed high running costs for air conditioning and heating of the air. So that's when in 2024 it was, we then turned our attention to a like-for-like replacement, which was a space frame steel shed. But again, we found, and it was more expensive than the original idea, but it would have required high running costs. And this is putting us off as a group because we'll be incurring those high running costs every year for 50 years.
Yeah.
So if you pay 5 years worth of that extra cost in your first year of building, then you're saving 45 that cost, as you well understand. So we have turned now to a retractable enclosure, and there are examples around New Zealand. There is a 25-metre swim school in Muriwai Beach, but that is a slightly different climate, but it does an excellent job, and it's been in operation for, I think, at least 5 years. And there are other examples around the country. So we think that it's entirely feasible, it's going to be durable enough, and it won't require the high running costs of the heating and ventilation. It may suffer a bit in how it performs on a very cold morning once you take the covers off the pool and there's all the moisture in the air, but we think that that is something we can work with. So that is where we've got in our design thinking, which is why it will cost about $3.3 million. So it is a lot of money. And we have been talking to Glenda about would a next step be to have a workshop or a discussion with council, because I can't get into detail here and there are ideas and questions. And also there is another stream of work about governance, which Catherine Rossiter-Stead is laying some groundwork for, because we think that there is a better governance structure, but it would be a good idea to have that conversation with council as well. So that's where we're at.
Thanks, Jake. Questions? Questions?
So, where you stand now, do you think that the new pool building won't go ahead without council financial support? Is that what?
There's no example of that succeeding. It might not be this council alone, and of course there might be a different council in place by that time. Who knows?
So do you still see this as being a couple of years away before you'd be actually building something?
You can't really, you can't do tendering until you have a completed design.
Yep.
And so we won't have a high degree of confidence in the cost until we've done tendering. And tendering is probably the only option, because if council is involved, they will require competitive pricing, not just whoever we prefer. So it extends the time out. You have to do tendering, then you'll know the cost, but then you won't have all the money by then. So you'll have it could be a couple of years after that before you have the money.
Jason, I've just got a question. Are you aware of Nuku Order, and they are doing a Wairarapa Regional Spaces and Places strategy, where they are going to be looking at the whole future of the Wairarapa in a sporting sense and what is going to be required across the Wairarapa for the future?
Not only as of last night, Catherine, I think, was heard about that, Catherine Ross. It may be common ground with the 2019 Aquatic Facilities Review that was done by council staff here. So I think there was some robust thinking, because it looked at where, not just Carterton. Greytown is another alternative. So yes, I think they link together.
Further questions for Jason?
When you're talking about cover for it, is it like the outdoor ones that you sort of roll up or something, or is that something that you're inside?
So by cover, I mean the foam mattress on the water,
Right, yeah.
which will go on every night. It goes on every night to stop loss of heat.
Yeah.
An enclosure would be a canopy.
Yeah, but the foam cover, you basically take that off, you don't roll it up or anything.
It's on rollers, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, every morning.
Yeah, gotcha.
Saves a lot of money
Yeah.
to keep the water.
Yeah.
I comment.
Might save it for discussion because we have discussion following this, if that's all right.
Totally.
Question?
Yeah, absolutely.
Jason, you talk about they hadn't proceeded without council funding. Could I interpret that to mean funder support, or are you specifically saying council involvement?
Um,
Do you
No.
mean funder support?
yes, funder support.
I'm not trying to be difficult.
No.
Fine.
No, I think you're drawing a distinction between governance and funding. Yes.
No further questions. Thank you, Jason, for presenting. You can remain at the table if you like. We're move on to item 5, which is discussion of the public forum.
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah.
But yeah, if
I,
there's any discussion, Luke.
I think I would be very open to doing a workshop on it. I think the pool project team have been really good in coming to report to us and keeping us in the loop. And they now want some more answers from us and how to get involved in the LTP if that's what we are open to or how that looks. So I think that in fairness, we really should do a workshop and like look to give them some sort of guidance on where we're sitting. And I think as part of that, though, we also should be looking at our outdoor pool as like a whole, possibly. I just think we've been hitting this around for such a long time around the table and we haven't committed to anything really other than a few $1,000s here and there. Jason's kept coming back and I think a workshop could be of benefit to get an understanding, bring the new councillors up to speed on it and just give them some real guidance on where we are.
As a new councillor, I'd appreciate a bit more of the background that we haven't been party to yet.
Yep, great. Further discussion. So I've got a couple of things. Just I wanted to write. I did a little bit of a background into a few pools, and just one that'll Motueka, for instance. It's a little bit difficult to compare Carterton with other towns and so forth. Motueka comes under Tasman District Council, and so that serves a population of 58,500. So we're talking Wairarapa as a whole, which is where I think we should be looking at what comes out of this strategy from Nuku'ora as to what is potentially the best way forward for the Wairarapa, looking at some of these big, whether a new aquatic centre is going to be plausible for the Wairarapa. But they have allocated funding of 15.6 million in their 10-year plan. That's Tasman District Council. And then so there's other councils as well. You've got Mosgiel. They fit under Dunedin City Council. They built a new port. It's very, very similar to what we have here in Carterton. Linwood, under Christchurch City Council, they sit around the area of Linwood. There's around 25,000 population, $22 million in 2022. Stratford is probably the closest to Carterton with a population of 10.5, but they are away from their nearest neighbours by a fair distance. And that Hara is 30 kilometres away, and part of South Taranaki, who are one of the richest councils in New Zealand, we would love to have their income. But they were also part of this was built in 2020 or 2021, and they got funding through the Provincial Growth Fund of $8 million, which is extremely handy. And I'm not sure we would have access to that type of funding, but there's no harm in asking. So I think that absolutely we can get Jason and committee to come in and present to us in a workshop, just to update us all and the newer members to be updated on how things have started and where they're at now. So, Simon?
Yeah, just thinking that pools a bit like community centres where like what's the income offset, you know, in terms of like I'm assuming that most pools run at a loss like community centres run at a loss. Certainly like to be, I'd be interested to know how other districts handle that and, you know, what is the community prepared to, you know, to bear as far as financial costs are concerned, ongoing costs.
Marston would probably be a good one to find out because I think they contract their recreation centre out, I believe.
That would be if we took the pool though, because that's not what the proposal is, right? The proposal is that the swim club's going to keep.
Yeah.
The identity of the organisation is they're going to run it day to day.
Right, but I mean, like it's still an expense on council and ratepayers. Is there any, what's the ongoing cost for us? You say none?
It's a pepper torn lease.
Yeah, like a ground lease.
Yeah, is that right?
That is correct.
Right, okay.
So there's no real cost on council.
Right, just okay.
Be a one-off gift type thing.
Sorry, what's that?
It would be like a one-off gift type.
Right,
We have a detailed business case I
Yeah.
can provide.
right. Yeah.
Jason, you said Catherine was doing some work on governance. Perhaps you could just bring people up to date with what she's looking at compared with how it is now. Because at the moment it belongs to the swimming club, doesn't it?
It does, yes,
And that's
which is an
probably
incorporated society, so member driven, which is not ideal. Yeah, the profile of the members are parents. So as soon as their child finishes swimming,
They lose interest.
they break their tie.
Mhm.
So there's a high turnover and they don't feel like they have broad shoulders to take on the risks and hazards and responsibilities. So it's really been Russ Gange that's held it all together with his recent health ups and downs. Others have stepped in. So it's a bunch of volunteers that keep going. What we've been interested in, and it's worked at the Taradale pool, which is on Ministry of Education land, and so they own the asset, but the entity is a trust. So the trustees deliver benefits to the beneficiaries, which are defined in their agreement, and that's what we would try to replicate. We would define who the beneficiaries are, and then we need to find suitable trustees. So we have a few, but what we'd really like is a prominent leader for that group, as everyone does. So if that would be the ideal, but the club is very interested in handing over the asset on their own terms, but I think that would be agreement they would reach. Yeah.
The other thing that you might want to comment on is what the usage of the facility is at the moment, because you have the swimming club, but that's not the majority of the use, is it?
No. Yeah, I'd welcome all of you to come along on a Saturday or Sunday morning and see the kids that are swimming. It's uplifting. Yeah, just watching. Well, I think it just reminds us of the fear we have, the primeval fear of drowning, and watching these kids go through that process. So, to me, that is the prime user group, but it is the club that have set it up, and it's the club that built it over 4 years of sacrifice. So it is their stake, and it is a complementary way that it operates with the swim school. And then you have aquarobics, which is wonderful to watch as well. All these old people who have a bit of banter and they move and they feel alive. And they have the social network. So the lane swimmers like myself, who pretend to, be competitive and all that. We just ride off the benefits of these other groups.
I think the hard thing, the thing I certainly have to come to terms with is that what you say, I totally agree with. It's a major benefit for any community, but you get other people saying exactly the same thing about their non-profit operation. We've got the cycling, we've got all sorts of things. And as soon as you say yes to one, what do you say to everybody else? And that's the thing I feel is going to be hard to reconcile. Yeah.
Probably a question for Jeff or ERT. With regards to parks and reserves, those sorts of budgets, if the swim school became something, well, the facility became something that was a Carterton council asset, do those reserves then enable us to spend those on things like the pool?
I think there's, yes, and the reserves we've collected from subdivisions are designed for growth.
Yeah.
So new things, whereas we'd have to use depreciation reserves to maintain an existing asset.
Yeah.
And replace. So we could use a portion of the infrastructure reserves that we've collected if we are improving the asset, making it bigger, longer, shinier. But there would be a large proportion that is essentially a renewal of an existing asset.
Yeah.
So that would have to come from other reserves.
Yeah. Okay.
That's interesting, especially what we've been talking about, trying to keep like the youth in Carterton and who the main users of the pool are. I think that's quite a strong tie-in. I think it's going to consider it a workshop for sure.
Do the schools use the pool?
Yes, sorry, I should have mentioned that. Yeah. So their main challenge is getting their transport.
That'd be the same with other sports though as well, I'd imagine. Although they have their own fields, but not every.
They can't just walk. I'm quite sure we all just used to walk across town.
Walks to it, like
Yeah.
some schools do walk.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So they do use their own pools.
Yeah, right.
Schools that have them.
Yeah.
But they can use ours all year round.
Mm-hmm.
And it's, I wanted to just mention, it's not a recreational pool. You can't do manus, you can't muck around.
Swimming.
It's only for learning and, well-being.
If you're caught having fun, you'll be.
It's like a job for you, Simon.
I'll take my taser.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Jason. Appreciate it. And we will look to collaborate and arrange a workshop.
That'd be good.
Thank you very much.
That'd be much appreciated. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. Next item is Youth Council views on agenda item. Welcome, Jason. And welcome to your whole team. Well, not all the team.
This is actually all the team at the moment. We finally got them all here, so this is the whole team. Does anyone want to use it?
Wants to be emotional. Giving you ask questions.
Oh, we've got put down. I do have a little bit written down, but I didn't know that the poll was coming. I didn't look over that well enough. I do have a bit to say about that. As someone, I will have to say, I do have a conflict of interest. I do work at a swim school, and I will say that now. But as a youth who does work at a swim school, it does bring so many jobs to young people. It works so well for us. And to see indoor pools can be really useful for kids and for young kids who want to continue swimming as they get older. It can be very helpful to have indoor pools in this town you live in, because you can just walk down, get into the indoor pool and do your swimming work without having your coach there, without having a set time. And that can be really helpful for young people to stay motivated in a sport they can be really good at. So to my written agenda ones, the courtesy, thank you for having us and coming in a little bit early to meet with us, and then coming late to stay with, to bring this back so we all can be here around school times. I had a look over the annual plan. It is very nicely presented. I really like how it's coming together. I would like to see some additions tying it back to the long-term plan and what we are doing, as we have said, from the long-term plan into there. I didn't really get much clarity if there is anything in the annual plan that we are working towards that we said we were doing in the long-term plan. And just one very nitpicky thing, on page 13 about financial overviews, there under capital funding in the section on increase in brackets decrease in debt, the comment is only about increases made to debt, not about decreases made to debt. And I would love to see a comment in there also about decreases made to debt so that the section is more complete. Yeah. And
Any questions for Josie and the team? What swim school do you work at?
Jill's Swim School.
Which is
It's the private swim school up in Masterton, so it's the private home one.
questions?
Can we ask you a question about the presentation we just had?
I'm fine with that. If you use this is
I'd just be interested in, you've just heard from member of the communities wanting us to invest some money.
Yeah.
Do you think Carterton Council would be wise to make an investment that in a local pool here rather than us look at the big picture that like Steve was talking about?
Yeah.
Of a aquatic sort of hub that might service the whole Wairarapa.
With the talks of an aquatic hub, there is the Masterton swimming pool, which kind of does have you beat there. So if it would be looking into joining funding and turning that into a Wairarapa centre, if that's what you're looking for and turning to aquatic centres, I would suggest maybe talking to Masterton District Council about that, because I don't think we could have one while Masterton have one, because it's way too competitive there. For the basics of a town wanting a swimming pool, a laned swimming area is very useful and is kind of a necessity when it comes to swimming pools. Whether it needs to be an indoor one is kind of iffy on me. And especially given that it is a 25-metre pool and that is the exact specs that Marston has. So whether parents will want to come and bring their kid to that one rather than the one up in Marston where there's got the play area indoors and they can just chill, their kid can do their swimming and then they can go to the play area, because that's what I see most of the time at work when I'm doing my coaching, is that they will do their swimming, they'll get out of my pool, I'll send them off on their day and they'll go do swimming in that more recreational area afterwards, for 30 minutes before going home. So it's kind of like the asset is good, having it there is nice. I don't know if we can compete with the aquatic centre that Marston already has going. Yeah.
Thank you.
Probably my only comment around that is the maintenance that is required on the Marston Rec Centre.
Oh, it has to be insane.
It's probably coming to the end of its life, to be honest. And a new aquatic centre, I think, if we're looking at the Wairarapa, would look at a 50-metre pool.
Yeah.
Olympic.
That would be,
size
I would
for-
love to see that on it.
So it can be used for, I guess, national purposes. So
That would be looking at needing land there, because I don't know if we have the land for a 50-metre pool at the Carterton swimming pool, which would mean having to obtain that asset, then find new land to put a new aquatic centre on, which would probably take a lot of time before we have a running pool up to that scratch. So it really does depend whether Marston is trying to get that aquatic centre operational or not, whether stepping on their toes in a way and building a new aquatic centre in Carterton is what we want to do, really.
it's probably more, it's being looked at across for all three councils
Yeah.
coming together.
Coming
And a
together.
new centre.
That would be-
Where the location is anyone's guess.
That would probably be the best we could do for swimming in general, is having a cross council Olympic size swimming pool would probably be so good for swim coaching and stuff like that. Also owned by councils, and having more lane uses and stuff like that would be lovely to see. Yeah.
Any more questions and feedback for Josie? All right. Okay. Thanks, Josie.
Thank you
Really
so much.
appreciate it. Okay. We'll move on to item 7 is our minutes of the ordinary council meeting held on 18th of February. Recommendation is that the minutes of the ordinary council meeting held on 18th February 2026 are true and correct. Do we have a mover and a second? Thank you, Deputy Mayor.
Second.
Thank you, Councillor Lawrence. All in favour? Against? Carried. Okay. We are on to reports. Jeff?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Worship, Your Worship. I don't want to hold the meeting up, but given we have the Youth Council here, I would like to shout out the MTFJ, which is the team that has been brought in-house this year and is being run by Carterton District Council across the entire Wairarapa. Success rate is certainly achieving what we planned to this year. We've had really good feedback from MTFJ National about our engagement, and particularly engagement of our mayor across the Wairarapa, and the workforce. The work that the team are doing in the workforce is something that we can all be very proud of. So very happy with MTFJ. Also a shout out with the team that pulled together the Holloway Hoopla that was just last weekend, weekend before. And again, a very successful event building on last year's event. I could talk a lot, but I'm happy to take questions on the report.
Thank you, Jeff. Questions for Jeff?
Who's got it?
You want me to ask one?
Councillor Della.
Okay, Jeff, on page 26, storm response and recovery, the trees that have come down, the 3 of them, and the square and the 2 parks, are they being replaced, and with what? Do you know? Or
That's a great question. I might turn to Glenda. And
yes, we will do replacements. I don't know what, and I don't know if they'll be replaced in exactly the same place, but we will do replacements. We've also got a big planting coming up at Spark Park and school holidays as well, which will help with our planting goals. But yes.
Glenda, this tendency has been towards replacing with native.
Yes.
Yeah. So we've lost macrocarpus, oaks and elms, and we're more likely to replace with natives.
Yeah. The assessment that was done last year or before on the trees, is that still current, and are there any more that are at risk basically?
Yeah, that got put into a CE report a couple of CE reports ago.
Yeah.
There was lots of options. There was the gold option, we can spend 100,000.
Yeah.
Or we could just maintain as we're going. So we're just maintaining at the moment within our budgets and doing repairs as if we needed. We're not looking at investing significant money into it at this point.
Yeah, my question basically, that's right. I understood that it was just that whether the assessment has changed since the last storm. It hasn't.
No. So the thinning work will help with the maintenance of those trees. So as we've got budget and availability, we will do thinning of those trees. And a rescue process going through over the next year or so while we work through that.
Yeah.
Just a supplementary to that. So I had a similar question along with Councillor Della's, just with the newly proposed upgrade to Carterton Park and the new towers and everything that are going to be surrounding, or the trees are going to be surrounding it. Just, I had the concerns around that assessment as well, and
so Paper for Trees did the assessment as part of the detailed design works, and there is a maintenance plan, and we do have within our existing budgets the ability to do specifically on those oaks in Carrington Park. So all are work in progress.
Thank you. So, no, where you go?
I was just going to say, in saying that, those oaks are unprecedented, like they're the oldest oaks that we've got, and they do have a tendency to break. So we are maintaining and we are closing reserves because big branches go. The tree that came down in Carrington Park, of all of the trees in Carrington Park, that would have been the one that we wouldn't have picked.
Interesting.
Same with the oak tree in Memorial Square. It wasn't the one we were monitoring closely. It's, well, as closely as.
Yeah.
And that's why my level of concerns raised a little bit, just around the assessment. What was the assessment on that tree that actually went compared to the other ones that have been assessed?
I think the assessment will help, but it wasn't a northwesterly wind. And I think that's what caused, so I lost 12 gum trees on my property, mature gums, because it was a southerly wind. That was the gale force, not a northwesterly. So I think particularly one of the oaks that we're monitoring in Memorial Square actually has quite a strong root system to cope with a northwesterly, but not a southerly.
Another one. On page 27, under the building services regulatory and planning, there is a third bullet point there. Initial advice indicates that the IT system modifications required to meet these formats will come at a cost to council, as updates will need to be implemented. So my question is that a big cost, or and will it need a budget, or is there a budget included?
I think Councillor Della, at this stage, we don't know. Building team leader John and Suzanne met with representatives from Envy last week just to work through what some of the reporting requirements would be. And some of the stuff that we're wanting reported on, it's looking like there'll need to be systems put in place that will expand on our existing reporting. So no different to like when MFE does any changes in the resource consenting space, we need to go to our provider and get them to be able to have that reporting line built into the reports and the magic software and things like that. So it's going to depend on the scope of it. We do across the organisation have a budget for IT upgrades. That sits there. So when we do get an indication of when this reporting comes in and what budgets there are, we'll have to look at existing budgets, see where they sit. We may push back on Envy and say we're not doing it until the new financial year. Or we may have to come to council and ask some other budget expenditure.
Thank you.
Councillor Newman?
I just had a question around Holloway Hoopla. I went to it. It was a really, really cool event. I loved it. I did notice that attendance seemed a lot lower than the previous year. And I just wondered if any work had been done to try and figure out maybe why that was the case. Because it is such a cool event.
It's very cool. Come on. Sorry, I'm going to ask Glenda to Bex.
She has done some work.
Yeah, so I noticed that the attendance is down as well, and we had a really good look around the region to make sure that there was nothing that was competing on that particular day. We found out that in hindsight, the gala had been booked after we set the date for the Friday before Holloway Hoopla. So we decided that next year we would make sure we contact the school and pre-teach their date and not go the same way again, because we wonder if there's a bit of fatigue and with the gala taking kids out on Friday night. We've also had discussions about potentially the economic climate and maybe food trucks maybe weren't fit for purpose for young families. So we're going to look for more of a sausage sizzle, like under $5 type food options for families next year and offer as fundraisers. So we have debriefed and come up with some solutions. The other thing that was really popular last year was the circus. I think it's got a bit more of that risque kind of, are they going to fall off? Are they going to, what are they going to do? But that seemed to be a lot more engaging for younger people and for children. So I think we'd change up some of the acts as well. Yeah. So we've got a big list of things to improve on.
But it was really, really cool. We had an awesome time, yeah.
Deputy Mayor.
I had a couple of compliments. Don't act so surprised. I thought the cleanup job, in particular on Memorial Square, that tree has been done so nicely. You know, so many trees are falling down all over the show and they look ugly for months. And I just think the council dealt with that in like 2 days and it's been levelled off perfectly. And I think job well done there.
Thank you.
Can I just add also to that the staff that were on site there, and I know of a community person out in the community who approached one of the staff members just asking for a couple of the rounds to use in wood turning. It was fantastic that they were approachable and allowed that person to take a couple of rounds away for that purpose. So really appreciate it.
And my other compliment, that's all right, was page 27, just on the regulatory and planning. Average consent processing times remain strong at under 10 days. Inspections are typically occurring the following day. I just think so many people, their only interaction with council is getting their rates bill or having to get a consent, and both of those can often be a headache. And I think the fact that council is doing inspections the next day and consent turnaround time is so fast is a real credit to the council. So there were my compliments.
Thank you.
And I have one question, was not negative. When council would be provided the information around the fleet review, you said that the ELT are discussing it. Will that come to us in a workshop or just get emailed out? Or
I was probably going to bring that up as part of the final piece of the annual plan piece. So we'll include capital budgets and things in the annual plan. So, yep, it's sure I make a note on that.
Cool.
Councillor Della?
Again, sorry. I only got another couple. Page 29, Jeff, on the noise control abatements, etc. On the last sentence in that, a fine for failing to comply with an abatement notice was issued the following day. My question is, are those fines being effective or not, and are they getting paid?
I think in this case, I'll turn to Solitaire, but I think in this case, the most effective result was the seizure that occurred. So.
This is the first time since I've been in this job that I've actually put a fine on for failing to comply with the abatement notice. They have a 28-day period in which to pay it. And then there is a process that they can appeal it. Like the abatement document is a formal document, not dissimilar to what you get if you get a fine for going in case of speed limit breakdown. So you have that 28-day period to pay it, and then it gets escalated through the courts if you don't pay it. So watch this space.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Casey.
Question on page 35, just the staffing levels. Current approved headcount is 81, currently full-time equivalent 75.7. How does that compare to this time last year? Any change?
it's a couple less, I think.
Yeah, so I think that came up at one of our workshops recently where we've looked year on year. But I thought we were down around somewhere between 5 and 7%. Was that your expectation, Jerry?
Check on the absolute figures, but we know we've been doing quite a few reorganisation proposals and implementing some new structures. We haven't taken on new staff in terms of the NTFJ, so we've had a bit of swings and roundabouts. But certainly, in Solitaires and the regulatory team, for example, we've not replaced some roles, so we felt we had that.
Further questions? Discussion? Another question, Councillor Della?
Yeah, sorry. Page 31 on the wastewater treatment plant works upgrade. I see there a nice photo of a really big filter, which is really cool. The question I've got is it's coming from overseas and we haven't got the way I understand it, we haven't got the design complete at this stage. Is that going to be ordered before the design complete and then we work around it? Or are we going to order it after the contractor's happy with it?
No, the intention was we would order it now. The completion of the design, and Lawrence will correct me if I'm wrong, is not dependent on that product. The rest of the design is more around layout and the component of the rest of the inlet. So this piece was consistent across all of the design elements.
Okay, yeah, so that was a consistent piece.
That's correct. And they did do some additional sampling just to check some process guarantees at the end of it that they have to meet. And they're already starting to do some auctioneering and optimization and removing bits that aren't going to be yet. But we'll be doing it as of, so I will be expecting it to be ordered and the first sort of bond to be paid in the next week too.
Thanks for that.
Yeah.
Further questions, discussion? Very good. I just have one more compliment, and Jeff's already mentioned it, and that's around our community survey. I think it's outstanding to increase 5% on last year. 766 submissions is excellent. So we are all looking forward to having a read of those submissions. So thank you for that. We have one recommendation, and that's that we receive the report. I'm happy to move that. We have a second. Thank you, Councillor Newman. All in favour?
Aye.
Against? Carried. Thanks, Jeff. Okay, 8.2. Adoption of Economic Development Committee Terms of Reference and Draft Economic Development Action Plan. Welcome, Bennett.
So after a few discussions on economic development, we have got to the point of having these draft action plan and terms of reference. So we are proposing that the Economic Development Advisory Group, it becomes a committee, and within that, we've created the terms of reference for that committee and given it some pretty clear specific responsibilities, including taking on the responsibility of the reporting for our economic development agencies like Destination Wairarapa. So we've got that there. What we've done is created a draft action plan based on feedback that we've had through workshops to try and refine what economic development looks like for Carterton and what council wants to be responsible for in that space. So we've got both of those there and happy to answer questions.
Thank you, Glenda. Questions for Glenda?
In the makeup of the committee, you've got mixed membership model, elected members and community representatives. Would any ELT be involved at all?
As a committee of council, the answer is we can't.
Okay.
It's council.
But they'll sit over there. Yeah.
Councillor Newman.
While we're talking about the membership, I see that the first meeting is proposed to be end of the month, I think. I can't say that one for me. 29th. So are we best in this meeting that we select the committee and the chair? Okay, because I don't think that was mentioned.
No,
We're in there.
I think you're correct that there's no comment about the chair, but you are correct that it would be helpful if council adopt this committee that you appoint a chair at the same time.
And identify what councillors are going to sit on the committee.
Yeah.
And there's no, we've said we're looking for four appropriate people from the community. we wouldn't have a great deal of time between now and the 29th to finance people, and I just wonder if you had given some thought to how we might actually go about doing that.
So we've got there through our open expression of interest, which is how we sorted the rural advisory group attendees. We can delay the meeting to allow more time.
No, I don't think that's. If we had 2 months, we probably wouldn't do anything for a month, so it wouldn't change. So, what would we, how would we do that? Just,
We could just put some comms out to the community via our socials and our media pages. And then we know there's groups out there that we can share that information with as well that would probably put an expression of interest in.
is it worth,
Shoulder tapping.
but is it also worth stipulating that one of those four should be someone from Carterton? So I think that would be a route into the local business community.
It's your call.
Yeah.
If you would like to do that.
I think that would be appropriate. So how do we make that does it, would that need to be in the terms of reference, or was just something we?
Would be up to council, so we could make the recommendation through the paper, and then this is still sitting as a draft terms of reference, so it can be amended to suit.
Question to that. What happens if they don't want to? We're not supporting them in any way financially at the moment. So what happens if they don't want to?
I don't know.
So having it in the terms of reference could make it tricky,
But
like
then,
specifically naming them.
So I think it would be really good to have them involved. And I think it totally makes sense, but
Just send an invitation to them. Rather than make it.
the other thing apart from that is that I don't know that the people that you could look on as saying, you know, perhaps we should be shoulder tapping, you know, registrations of interest. If that doesn't come through, shoulder tapping is always a very good way to go. We might have leaders in the community that we'd love to have on this committee and who'd probably be quite happy if they were approached, but may not actually volunteer themselves.
Yes, with an expression of interest.
Yeah.
I guess that's fair then.
Yeah, well, that's right. Yes, you're right. You know, can you please put in an expression of interest?
Yeah.
I just was wondering, how does the expression of interest work? Say you did get 10 of them. Did the council members on that committee select? Okay.
Now, just hearing around the table, it sounds like we have someone who's very keen on being the chair and is leading this quite well. But we'll talk about that in the recommendations, I guess.
Another question is, do we know if the other councils are doing anything similar, like with Marston or South Wairarapa? Have they got an economic development committee, or is this the only example of this within the three councils?
My understanding is that South Wairarapa have a similar economic focused committee.
Yeah.
That was what Fran was talking about the other day, I think.
Yeah.
This kind of committee.
Yeah. But this is to themselves as opposed to a Wairarapa wide one, because I know they're chasing that as well.
Yes, it's just South Wairarapa.
Just South Wairarapa.
But what they did, which I thought was outlandish, but anyway, shouldn't say that while rude. But they gave them $160,000 and then spread it round, which I thought was.
It was through a fund.
Yeah.
So that was in the Times Age, wasn't it? Yeah.
Didn't Marston do something similar that Shane Manaway sort of had?
I don't think Marston have a council committee that's focused on economic development. But I think, Shane's does a few other bits and pieces and.
Yes, helped them out on a few projects.
So they've got this CBD renewal thing going on. Is there a committee involved with that from the council, or is that quite separate?
I think that's just running through all council. I just seen
That's through all
earlier that
councils,
that
that's
was
a separate
through
committee.
their ordinary
Okay.
council meetings. So, yeah.
Further questions? Glenda, I just had a question around one of the goals in there, which is under the Wainoa Industrial Park.
In the action plan.
Yes, and I'm just thinking about discussions that we're having at the moment with our neighbours. We haven't really mentioned anything in there about our two neighbouring councils and how they might feed into our discussions. And I know we want to make this a Carterton focus.
Yeah.
How can we get their input into the Wainoa side of things?
Yep. So with that one specifically, I think there's opportunities to then look at our partners as well. So our other councils and our other economic development agencies that we're already working with, and around how do we, so these are the goals that we're setting for Carterton Council, and how do we work with our partners to help them achieve those goals with us?
So are you including them under the regional agencies? So they're already.
Yeah, so we set so we fund those agencies and we set their goals for the year. I think what Glenn is suggesting is we can also leverage those agencies to help us assist with this goal around Wainoa, which is more Wairarapa. And that's our thinking at this stage, is to leverage those agencies.
Councillor Newman.
One question, page 41. It's talking about approving expenditure up to the limit imposed by council subject to council's financial delegations policy. So does that mean you're going to have to bring that up to us, or how do we get that amount? How do we determine that amount? Where does that?
Management didn't really want to suggest a budget for you. We didn't think it was appropriate to restrict your thinking on this committee at the start of its life. So we really wanted your direction on what you thought a budget was appropriate. The piece around financial delegations is, whilst the committee can approve expenditure, it's still got to go through our financial processes for, that dual authorisation and site management. But essentially, Glenn and I didn't really want to restrict the committee. We thought it was up to council to decide how much they wish to delegate.
Do you expect much budget required to actually just run this committee, or is this basically it stays within the confines of what we've already got? I mean, what am I saying? You've already put it in there that it's already will work within the current existing budget. But are you expecting the running of the committee itself would incur extra cost?
Not materially so. No. A little bit internal staff time, my time, Glenda's time.
And anyone else who's been invited onto the committee is doing it on a voluntary basis, correct? Yeah.
We do have a meeting fee for that is available.
The other thing too is that it may be that the committee thinks that getting professional advice might be a good idea, say related to say town planning or something like that. That would be an extra that we would need to ask budgetary allowance for. That'd be right. So just in other words, contracting any professional services
without upsetting Solitaire. Perhaps not town planning.
Oh, right. Sorry. Okay. Wrong choice of words.
Yes.
Yeah.
I would have thought if the committee has budget to do things, then it's within their authority to decide how. It's up to you as to how you wish to deliver that outcome. Yeah. If it is, if you determine that you need external input, then the committee would pass a resolution and move ahead with it. I don't think you need to do anything else.
That's Newman.
Let's go back to my question from before. So when is the appropriate time to set that money amount? Is it as part of our annual plan process? Where does that?
I would have thought either now or as part of your annual plan post. Certainly now would give us an indication for the annual plan, which would be helpful. I know we discussed in a workshop, the possibilities of what could be available. I just didn't want to make a decision on behalf of council as to how much you wanted to put or put aside for this committee. If I were providing a recommendation, I would say start small. You can always go bigger. If you delegate a heap, You know, all of the spare capacity that we've got, it's very hard to claw it back for a really good idea that comes to council outside of the committee. So I'd start small and see what you achieve. 10, 15, you know, $1,000, I would have thought, you know, and then that always leaves the possibility of the committee coming back to council saying, we've got a really good idea. We just, you know, can you give us a bit more?
We can get approval from council for that.
That would seem prudent. But obviously, as I said, I don't really want to lead you. It's your call. But that would be my recommendation if you're asking for one.
I am asking for.
Was this coming out of the big pool of all our grant funding and all that type of stuff?
Economic development budget. So we had a workshop a little while back, and we did indicate to council that there was some funding available in that economic development pot that was available for this committee.
Can I ask how much that was?
It was like 25, 30-ish.
It was about $30,000, yeah.
And that's within the total economic development spend at the budget at the moment.
Yes, within budget at the moment.
Currently unspent.
Yes.
Because, yeah, I can't remember the reason, but the discussion. Yeah.
We also talked about the sale
Review certain assets.
Yeah, the sale price from our recent sale.
Assets.
Yeah, and
So
that could be incorporated. I don't know if that should be given to the organisation, but knowing that that's the budget that they could then tap into would be helpful to have that sort of
yeah,
laid out.
so we've discussed as the possibility of, if we sell an asset, could we ring fence that funding for that asset and use it for economic development? You know, at this stage we haven't settled or finalised the sale of any asset, so there's no funding available. And if that does happen, it would be more likely to happen after the annual plan has been set, so it'll happen in the fiscal year. And we can bring that back to council once those assets, you know, if an asset sale is finalised and goes through, we can bring that back to council and you can make that decision at that time.
That's from 1st of July the next year.
Yeah.
If council did want to make some of money available, then it will probably take advice from this proposed committee as to how that might be disposed.
Yeah.
Used.
Invested.
Invested. It's like,
So can we, I mean, I'm open to adding recommendations, obviously, if we're going to look at who's going to be on the committee. And I mean, I'm open for that $30,000 to be put forward as the starting sum for the committee to work with. I don't know how everyone feels about that around the table. And then any asset sales in the future is looked at.
We have to first of all move that the council agrees to the formation of the committee.
Yeah.
Before we look at the funding.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what I'm suggesting. Adding recommendations in.
I said one slightly nitpicky thing that I'm just not, I've just asked ChatGPT to give me alternative solutions to the sentence. But the line where it says council plays a key role in fostering these outcomes. So this is page 42 of the Economic Development Action Plan. So council plays a key role in fostering these outcomes by funding and supporting a variety of economic development services that contribute to a thriving local economy. I'm just wondering if there's a way that we can make it seem more of that partnership thing than just council funding. I just don't want it to lock us into something where council become the funder for any economic development stuff. I want us to be the enabler and the supporter, and we come alongside people. We don't get in their way, but I don't want it to be council's responsibility. We need to be seen in that sort of partnership line.
Changing it to acts as an enabler, or that softens it. And
it's like, how do you soften the sentence so it doesn't sound like we're the default?
We are a key role though, because we are providing the funding.
key role in enabling
Yeah, I just wonder if enabling is
a better word than
I'm
fostering.
going to take out the funding in particular too.
no, because I'm not saying we can't fund, but I think it's enabling funding or supporting funding. It's not just the funder itself is just where I get nervous that we end up in futures that someone points to us and says council's meant to fund it, rather than support the funding or enable or assist or partner or something like.
I can reword that.
I'm just wondering if there's a way to sort of soften it slightly.
Well, we need to do that right now. If we're
It's
adopting it.
it's a draft at the moment, so I think what we could do is not accept the draft, noting that the committee will
Make the final
make the final changes. Yeah.
on the first meeting, yeah.
Yeah.
And we can suggest the committee makeup and that kind of thing now, and they can tick it off at that meeting.
Further questions, discussion before we move to recommendations? No? Okay. Well, let's do recommendation 1, and that's that we receive the report. I'm happy to move. We've seconded. Councillor Gallen, all in favour?
Aye.
Against? Carried. Recommendation 2, adopts the terms of reference for the Economic Development Committee, noting that.
It's in the action plans, the next one.
Okay.
No, you're right. Sorry. So it would be adopts the draft terms of reference for the Economic Development Committee, noting that the new committee will finalise the TOR.
Robin's going for it.
I'll do that.
I'm glad you did that because I'm not going to repeat it.
Second that.
Thank you, Councillor Dale. All in favour?
Aye.
Against? Carried. And recommendation 3, approves the draft Economic Development Action Plan as a starting point for the next 12-month work program. Councillor Casey, thank you. Seconder, Councillor Newman, all in favour?
Aye.
Against? And carried. And do we have further recommendations?
I recommend we do appoint a chair. And can we do that right now? Or and I'd like to put my hand up.
So I will, I guess we're going to do this formally.
We have a second.
Can I take, we have a nomination? You're nominating yourself.
Nominate myself.
Do we have a seconder for Councillor Casey's nomination?
Yeah.
Councillor Gallen? Do we have any further nominations?
I'll nominate Lou. Just to make council a bit spicy.
Do we have a,
Someone else's.
do we have a seconder for that nomination? Do we have any further nominations?
I nominate Steve.
And do we have a seconder for this?
For Lou?
Rachel.
Yeah. Councillor Round.
And then we have Councillor Newman nominating Councillor Lawrence, seconded by Councillor Burns.
Oh,
It's going to be an interesting vote, isn't it?
Have you asked the next question? Any further nomination?
Job, Steve.
Who's missing a turn?
No further nominations. Okay. How am I going to do this? Can nominators vote for another person other than the person they've nominated?
Yes. So there's normally 2 ways of voting. There are either the first past the post, so everyone casts a vote. Whoever gets the most votes is elected chair, or a second process whereby the lowest number of votes drops out and you recast again with the final 2 candidates.
Yeah.
Firstly, you have to choose how you wish to vote. Do you wish to vote on a one vote system or a multi-voted system? And then you actually have to cast your votes.
Does anyone want to move either option of how we're going to vote?
Whatever's easiest.
Should we, let's just go for option A, first past the post.
And I think we can't, whoever's nominated, you can't vote for yourself, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
You can, with 9 people, first past the post system. It could be tied, and it may require the chair to use their casting vote.
Oh,
Right. Let's put the first nomination to the vote, which is Councillor Casey. All in favour?
Okay, I'm out.
It's so funny.
Okay, I'll put the second nomination to the vote, which I've forgotten now.
Newman.
Was Councillor Newman. All in favour? 1, 2, 3, 4, 6. Okay, well, that to me is the winning. I don't have to go to the third nomination, I don't think.
Thanks, guys.
So Lou, you were nominated as the chair of the new committee. Congratulations.
Congratulations.
It was a much more interesting vote than the deputy was.
Thank you very
That
much,
was
Deputy
exciting.
Mayor Ayling.
The third motion.
Yes,
or-
we haven't got to that yet.
Yep.
Do we need a?
It's a member of the community.
Oh, it is. So that will come later.
We need to elect the other.
I was just going to move him.
Chair, could I just might need to clarify that vote. Councillor Casey voted for himself and then also voted for Lou Newman, and I'm just not convinced he can have two votes.
Oh, it doesn't go because of popular.
I
It's still be the
think
same.
we might need to record. Can I just double check that with you?
Can I have a showing of hands of who voted for Lou again, please? Apart from you, it's 5, so that's still passed. So
I just wish
Thank
to
you.
clarify that for the
Yeah.
record.
if we can change that vote to 5. I won't take the against. Okay, do we have another recommendation for the committee members? Yes, Councillor Newman.
I'd suggest people. I recommend that the committee be made up of Steve Lawrence and Simon Casey. Is that okay?
And-
Me.
Is it only 3 or is it 3 plus? Is it 4 in total?
Sorry.
Community members.
Well, these are
Three elected
three
members.
councillors.
Elected members.
So you're moving
That's the committee.
Yeah.
that Councillor Lawrence
And Casey.
and Councillor Casey are the two, and that's the seconder?
Yes.
Do we have any further nominations?
That makes it a bit easier.
Okay, I'll put that to the vote. All in favour?
Aye.
Against? Carried.
We're all friends again.
Chair Newman.
I also, is it to approve the funding?
I think you need to pass a motion to delegate authority up to a certain amount to the committee.
Okay, so I move motion that we delegate authority up to $30,000.
I'm happy to second that.
Is that per year?
First,
It could only be, because we're in an annual plan, so yes, it can only be up per annum. So it would be up to the end of June.
Because we might want to increase it next year or
decrease it.
all in favour of Lou's motion, the chair's motion?
Yep.
Against? Carried unanimously.
Thank you. Yeah, it's really interesting.